There is a dangerous moment in a person's life that almost nobody talks about. It is not the moment when you lose. It is not the moment when someone walks away. It is not even the moment when life knocks you to the ground. The most dangerous moment is the second after the pain arrives, when your mind quietly asks you one question. Is this where I become weaker? Or is this where I become someone life can never control again? Because understand something. Life does not need to destroy your body to defeat you. Sometimes all it has to do is convince you that you are finished. One rejection can make you question your worth. One betrayal can make you afraid to trust again. One failure can make you believe you were never capable. One humiliating moment can follow you for years. One person can leave your life, and suddenly you begin living as if they took your future with them. And this is where most people misunderstand resilience. They think an unbreakable person never feels pain. Wrong. The strongest person in the room may be carrying pain nobody can see. They may have been rejected. They may have been underestimated. They may have lost people they thought would remain forever. They may have failed publicly. They may have cried privately. They may have questioned themselves 1,000 times. But there is one thing they refuse to surrender: the authority over what they become next. That is resilience. Not escaping the storm, not pretending the storm does not hurt, not becoming cold, not becoming emotionless. Resilience is standing inside a difficult season and saying, you may change my circumstances, but you will not choose my character. You may hurt me, but you will not decide what I become. You may knock me down, but you will not teach me to stay there. That is the mindset we are building today. Because a person becomes extremely difficult to defeat when they stop asking life to become easier and start training themselves to become deeper, calmer, wiser, and more adaptable. Bruce Lee's philosophy was never simply about physical strength. Behind the speed, discipline, movement, and martial skill was something more important: adaptation, knowing when to move, knowing when to remain still, knowing when resistance is necessary. Knowing when resistance is wasting your energy, knowing how to lose something without losing yourself, knowing how to face pressure without allowing pressure to decide your identity. A rigid tree may appear powerful until the storm becomes strong enough. Then it snaps. But something flexible moves with the wind, survives the pressure, and remains standing when the storm is gone. That is why your goal should never be to become harder than everything that attacks you. Your goal should be to become so adaptable that nothing knows how to permanently defeat you. If life closes one road, you find another. If somebody rejects you, you keep your dignity. If the plan collapses, you rebuild. If your confidence disappears, you continue with discipline until confidence returns. If you lose yesterday's version of yourself, you create tomorrow's version. If the world misunderstands you, you stop wasting your entire life trying to convince everyone. And if you fall, you study the ground, you learn why you fell, you rise differently. That is what makes a human being dangerous in the best possible way. Not anger, not ego, not aggression, but the quiet knowledge. Whatever happens next, I will find a way through it. So if life has been testing you recently, do not immediately assume you are being destroyed. Perhaps you are being introduced to strength you never needed before. Perhaps the pressure is revealing weaknesses you now have the opportunity to correct. Perhaps what feels like the ending of one version of you is actually the beginning of someone far more difficult to defeat. Remember this throughout everything you are about to hear. Nothing can break the person who knows how to rebuild. And these 7 lessons will show you how. Lesson 1. Become water under pressure. Many people are strong only when life agrees with them. Give them certainty, and they are confident. Give them appreciation, and they are motivated. Give them support, and they move forward. Give them success, and they believe in themselves. But remove those things and suddenly everything changes. Their confidence disappears. Their discipline collapses. Their emotions take control. Their mind begins fighting reality. This is why resilience begins with one powerful skill: adaptability. If you can only function when everything happens according to your plan, life will control you very easily. Because life does not ask for permission before changing direction. People change. Opportunities disappear. Plans fail, relationships end, businesses struggle, bodies grow tired, doors close. Unexpected responsibilities arrive, and sometimes the future you imagine simply refuses to happen in the way you expected. At that moment, you have two choices. You can spend your energy fighting the fact that reality changed, or you can change with reality without abandoning who you are. Think about water. Pour it into something small and it adjusts. Give it more space and it expands. Put something in its path and it moves around it. Yet never confuse flexibility with weakness. Water can be gentle enough to rest in your hand and powerful enough to reshape stone over time. That is the kind of resilience you need. You do not have to react to every difficulty with force. Some problems are defeated through patience, some through distance, some through discipline, some through silence, some through courage, some through changing direction completely. Weak thinking says, this was not supposed to happen. Strong thinking asks, now that it has happened, what is my best move? That single question changes everything. Imagine somebody walks away from you. The rigid mind says, they were supposed to stay. My life cannot continue without them. The adaptable mind says, this hurts. I did not want this. But if their chapter in my life has ended, I will learn how to live the next chapter with dignity. Imagine your career plan fails. The rigid mind sees humiliation. The adaptable mind sees information. What did this teach me? What skill am I missing? What can I improve? Where else can I move? What opportunity exists now that I was previously too comfortable to notice? This does not mean pretending disappointment feels good. Pain is still pain. Loss is still loss. But resilience means your emotions are allowed to visit without being allowed to become permanent rulers of your life. Feel what you feel, then move, study, adjust, learn, become flexible without becoming directionless. There is an important difference. Water adapts to its environment, but it never stops being water. You should adapt without losing your values. You can change your strategy without changing your integrity. You can leave a situation without becoming bitter. You can become wiser without becoming cruel. You can protect yourself without becoming heartless. You can change direction without calling yourself a failure. Sometimes changing direction is proof that you are finally seeing reality clearly. Your ego wants to prove that the original plan was correct. Wisdom wants to discover what actually works. Your ego says, I cannot change because people will think I failed. Wisdom says, I would rather change than spend 10 years defending a mistake. Your ego wants control. Resilience wants movement. And that is why the person who learns to adapt becomes incredibly difficult to trap. Take away one option, they create another. Close one door, they stop staring at it forever. Change the environment, they learn the environment. Challenge their identity, they strengthen it. Push them into uncertainty, they become comfortable making decisions without perfect information. Eventually life realizes something. This person cannot be defeated simply by changing the conditions. Because they know how to change too. Do not pray for a road without turns. Become the person who can handle turns. Do not demand that every season remain comfortable. Learn how to function in different seasons. When pressure arrives, do not become rigid. Observe, breathe, adjust, move. Become water under pressure. Because the person who can adapt without losing themselves can survive almost anything. Lesson 2. Stop fighting every blow. One of the quickest ways to exhaust yourself is to treat every problem like a war. Somebody criticizes you, you fight. Someone misunderstands you, you explain. Someone insults you, you respond. Something goes wrong, you panic. Someone doubts you, you desperately try to prove them wrong. And after years of living this way, you become tired, not because life defeated you, but because you fought battles that never deserved your energy. Real strength requires selection. You must decide what deserves your reaction. Not every attack deserves defense. Not every opinion deserves correction. Not every misunderstanding deserves explanation. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every argument deserves your voice. Not every person deserves access to your emotional energy. Sometimes the strongest move is not moving. This can be difficult because the ego hates silence. When somebody says something unfair about you, the ego screams, correct them. When someone doubts you, show them immediately. When someone disrespects you, make them regret it. But an undisciplined reaction can make another person's foolishness become your problem. Resilience means understanding the difference between a threat to your life and a threat to your ego. Your ego will treat both as emergencies. Wisdom will not. If someone you barely respect misunderstands you, why should your entire day collapse? If someone committed to disliking you criticizes you, why should you spend hours constructing a defense? If people gossip about you, does entering every conversation actually protect your peace? Sometimes you protect yourself by refusing to enter the arena. Think of a skilled fighter. They do not wildly throw energy in every direction. They observe. They conserve movement. They understand timing. They do not attack simply because an opening appears. They respond when responding serves a purpose. Your emotional life needs the same discipline. There are people who can control your mood with one sentence because you have trained yourself to react instantly. They know exactly which button to press. Mention your insecurity, you react. Question your intelligence, you react. Ignore you, you react. Disagree with you, you react. Leave you on red, you react. Eventually your emotional state belongs to everybody except you. That is not strength. Freedom begins when there is space between what happens and what you decide to do about it. Somebody insults you. Pause. Someone rejects you. Pause. A plan goes wrong. Pause. A painful message arrives. Pause. Do not make permanent decisions while standing inside temporary emotion. Give your intelligence time to catch up with your feelings. Ask, will responding improve this? Will this matter next month? Am I protecting something important, or am I defending my ego? Would silence make me weaker, or would it preserve my power? This is not about becoming passive. There are moments when you must speak. There are boundaries that must be defended. There are injustices that require action. There are situations where silence would become cowardice. But resilience means choosing your response consciously, rather than allowing somebody else to choose it by provoking you. That is a massive difference. A person who can provoke you whenever they want possesses a form of control over you. Take that control back. You do not need to win every argument. You need to win your life. You do not need everybody to admit you are right. You need enough clarity to continue walking. You do not need revenge against everybody who hurt you. Sometimes becoming peaceful after what they did is victory enough. Sometimes building the life they assumed you could never build is enough. Sometimes forgetting the argument entirely is the highest form of freedom. There is tremendous strength in being able to say, I could respond, but I do not need to. I could prove myself, but my future is more important. I could carry this anger for another year, but it is too expensive. I could spend tonight thinking about what they said, but tomorrow deserves a better version of me. This is how resilient people protect their energy. They understand that attention is life. Whatever receives your attention receives a piece of your limited time on earth. Spend carefully. Some people deserve conversation. Some deserve boundaries. Some deserve forgiveness. Some deserve distance. And some deserve absolutely nothing from you except the freedom to continue being exactly who they are while you continue walking in the opposite direction. Stop fighting every blow. Your peace is not cowardice. Your silence is not defeat. Your restraint is not weakness. Sometimes refusing the battle is how you protect the strength you will need for something that truly matters. Lesson 3. Train before the pain. Everyone wants mental strength when life becomes painful. But resilience is rarely created in the exact moment you desperately need it. It is trained beforehand. A boxer does not begin learning how to move after the fight starts. A musician does not practice the instrument for the first time on stage. And you cannot expect your mind to suddenly become disciplined during tragedy if you have trained it to surrender whenever life becomes slightly uncomfortable. Resilience is built in small moments. The alarm rings. You want another hour of sleep. That is training. You promised yourself you would exercise. You do not feel motivated. That is training. You need to have a difficult conversation. You want to avoid it. That is training. You have work to finish. Your phone is calling for your attention. That is training. You made a mistake. You want to blame somebody else. That is training. Mental toughness is not created by dramatic speeches. It is created when your actions repeatedly teach your mind, my feelings do not make every decision. This matters because pain changes the voice inside your head. When you are hurt, everything suddenly feels permanent. When you are tired, simple problems look enormous. When you are rejected, your mind may begin collecting evidence that you were never valuable. When you fail, your imagination may convince you that future failure is guaranteed. In those moments, discipline becomes the bridge between emotion and truth. You may not feel powerful, still get out of bed. You may not believe in the future, still take today's step. You may not feel confident, still practice. You may not feel hopeful, still protect your routine. You may not feel ready, still move. This is not denying your emotions, it is refusing to make your entire future dependent on how you feel at one moment. A resilient mind understands, I do not need to feel perfect before I act correctly. That sentence can save years of your life. Too many people wait for motivation. They wait to feel confident. They wait until fear disappears. They wait until uncertainty leaves. They wait until their heart feels completely healed. But life keeps moving while they wait. Resilience says, I can move while healing. I can work while uncertain. I can take action while afraid. I can rebuild while still missing what I lost. You become stronger every time you keep a promise to yourself when breaking that promise would have been easier. Small promises matter. Wake when you said you would wake. Finish what you said you would finish. Practice what you said you would practice. Do not send the message you already know you will regret. Walk away when the boundary you established is crossed. Save the money you promised yourself you would save. Train even when nobody is watching. Read when entertainment is easier. Sit with discomfort instead of immediately escaping into distraction. Each act may appear tiny, but together they create identity. Eventually you stop saying, I hope I can handle difficult things. You begin knowing, I have evidence that I can. This is why discipline creates confidence more reliably than compliments ever will. Compliments tell you what somebody thinks about you. Discipline shows you what you are capable of doing. One depends on another person's opinion, the other becomes part of your character, and when real pain arrives, character matters. There may come a season when nobody knows how to help you. Advice will sound empty. Motivation will disappear. People will tell you to stay strong, but they will return to their lives while you remain inside yours. What will carry you then? The habits you built, the standards you trained, the ability to do the next necessary thing, even when your heart is heavy. Eat, sleep, work, move, pray or reflect, train, breathe, finish today's responsibility. Do not solve the next 5 years tonight. Handle today, then tomorrow, then the day after that. This is how people survive seasons they once thought would destroy them. Not through one heroic moment, through hundreds of ordinary decisions made while hurting. Train before the pain. Practice discomfort while life is calm. Do difficult things voluntarily. Strengthen your attention. Strengthen your body. Strengthen your word. Strengthen your ability to wait. Strengthen your ability to remain calm. Because someday life may place something heavy in your hands. And when that day comes, you do not want to discover strength for the first time. You want to recognize it. Lesson 4. Turn loss into material. There are 2 ways to experience pain. You can carry it, or you can build with it. Most people carry it. They carry what their parents said 20 years ago. They carry the person who betrayed them. They carry the business that failed. They carry the friend who disappeared. They carry the opportunity they missed. They carry the embarrassment. They carry the rejection. They carry the version of themselves they wish they had been. And eventually the weight becomes so familiar that they start calling it their personality. I am this way because of what happened. I cannot trust because somebody betrayed me. I cannot try again because I failed before. I cannot love because someone left. I cannot believe in myself because people doubted me. Pain becomes identity. But resilience asks a different question. What can I build from this? That question does not erase what happened. It transforms your relationship with it. Maybe rejection taught you that you had been depending too heavily on approval. Maybe loneliness forced you to finally meet yourself. Maybe failure exposed a weakness your early success would have hidden. Maybe betrayal taught you the difference between words and patterns. Maybe losing money forced you to become financially disciplined. Maybe losing status taught you which people loved you and which people loved your position. Maybe heartbreak taught you that you had abandoned yourself while trying to keep somebody else. Pain contains information. Do not waste it. A painful experience becomes even more expensive when you refuse to learn from it. You already paid the price. Take the lesson. This does not mean every tragedy happens because you needed it. Life can be unfair. People can be cruel. Things happen that nobody deserves. Resilience is not pretending everything that happens is good. It is deciding that even something bad will not be allowed to produce nothing but destruction inside you. Maybe you cannot control what the experience took, but you can influence what it leaves behind. Let it leave wisdom. Let it leave boundaries. Let it leave discipline. Let it leave compassion. Let it leave patience. Let it leave sharper judgment. Let it leave deeper gratitude. Let it leave a version of you who now understands something your old self did not. Think about your deepest scar, not physically, emotionally, the thing that changed you, the thing you sometimes wish had never happened. Now ask yourself, what did surviving this force me to learn? Maybe you learned how strong you actually are. Maybe you learned to stop chasing people. Maybe you learned that beginnings sometimes wear the clothes of endings. Maybe you learned that losing everyone around you does not mean losing yourself. Maybe you discovered that the person you were desperately trying to keep was never giving you peace. Maybe you finally developed a skill because the old path closed. Maybe humiliation destroyed an ego that would have eventually destroyed you. Look carefully. There may be something useful buried beneath the pain. Extract it. A martial artist does not complain that the opponent moved differently than expected. They study the movement. What did the opponent reveal? Where was the weakness? What needs adjustment? Life deserves the same observation. After every difficult season, conduct an honest review. What broke? Why? What did I ignore? What did I assume? Where was I too dependent? Where was I undisciplined? Where did I betray my own values? Where was I unfair to myself? What was completely outside my control? What would I do differently next time? This is how pain becomes training. But be careful. Learning from pain does not mean worshipping pain. You do not have to stay hurt to prove that what happened mattered. You do not need to remain angry to prove that they were wrong. You do not need to replay the memory every night to respect what you survived. At some point, healing becomes permission to put the lesson in your pocket and leave the pain on the road. Take the wisdom, leave the poison. Take the clarity, leave the obsession. Take the boundary, leave the bitterness. Take the strength, leave the need for revenge. Then the event that once looked like proof of your destruction becomes part of the foundation beneath your feet. Your scars stop saying, "Look what happened to me." They begin saying, "Look what could not finish me." That is resilience, not having a perfect past. Having the courage to turn an imperfect past into material for a stronger future. Lesson 5. Release the old you. Sometimes life is not breaking you. It is breaking an identity you have outgrown. This is painful because people become attached not only to other people, but also to versions of themselves. You become attached to being the successful one, the strong one, the attractive one, the needed one, the smartest one, the person everybody calls, the person with the perfect relationship, the person who always knows what to do, the person who never fails. Then life changes. Suddenly the role disappears. And because you confuse the role with your identity, you feel as if you disappeared too. Maybe you lost the career that made you feel important. Maybe a relationship ended and you no longer know who you are without that person. Maybe your body changed. Maybe your financial position changed. Maybe people who once applauded you stopped paying attention. Maybe you failed at something that had become central to how you saw yourself. Now you have a choice, spend years trying to resurrect an old identity, or become curious about who you can become next. Resilient people are willing to shed. They understand that growth sometimes requires the death of an old self-image. This is terrifying, but it is also freedom. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to admit that an old dream no longer fits you. You are allowed to stop trying to impress people you once wanted approval from. You are allowed to become quieter. You are allowed to become more disciplined. You are allowed to change careers. You are allowed to reconsider beliefs. You are allowed to outgrow friendships. You are allowed to stop performing a personality that keeps everybody comfortable while slowly exhausting you. One of the greatest forms of resilience is the ability to say, "That was who I was. It does not have to be who I remain." Your past is evidence. It is not a prison sentence. Maybe you used to be insecure. That is not your permanent identity. Maybe you used to chase people. That does not mean you must chase forever. Maybe you were undisciplined for 10 years. Tomorrow morning can still begin differently. Maybe you failed repeatedly. Failure describes outcomes. It does not have the authority to name your entire character. People may try to keep you trapped inside an old version because that version makes sense to them. You never used to act like this. Exactly. You learned. You have changed. Good. Life changed you. Wisdom changed you. Pain changed you. Experience changed you. The important question is not whether you changed. The question is whether the change moved you toward greater character, clarity, discipline, and peace. Never be so loyal to your past that you become disloyal to your future. Bruce Lee's broader philosophy emphasized freedom from rigid systems. That same principle belongs inside your identity. Do not create a prison out of your own self-concept. If your current approach does not work, adjust it. If your habits are destroying you, replace them. If your environment continuously pulls you backward, leave when you can. If a belief about yourself keeps you small, challenge it. You are not required to spend your entire life proving an old story true. Perhaps the sentence "I am not confident" needs to become "I am learning courage." Perhaps "I always quit" becomes "This time I finish." Perhaps "Nobody stays" becomes "I will stop abandoning myself when people leave." Perhaps "I ruined everything" becomes "I made mistakes, and now I understand what responsibility requires." Language matters because you are always listening to yourself. Speak in a way that leaves room for transformation. You are not a finished object. You are a living process. And sometimes the reason you feel broken is that you keep trying to force your new life to fit the shape of your old identity. Let the old version go. Thank it for surviving what it survived. Forgive it for what it did not know. Learn from its mistakes. But do not drag it into every future room. The next level of your life may require a version of you that does not exist yet. Build that person, quietly, daily, without needing everybody to understand. One habit at a time, one boundary at a time, one difficult decision at a time. And someday you may look back at the period you called breaking and realize you were not disappearing, you were changing form. Lesson 6. Move before fear decides. Fear becomes powerful when it is given too much time to speak. At first it whispers, "What if this goes wrong?" Then, "What if you embarrass yourself?" Then, "What if people judge you?" Then, "What if you fail again?" Then eventually, "Maybe you should not try." And if you listen long enough, fear can make a prison feel safer than possibility. This is why resilient people develop a relationship with action. Not reckless action, not thoughtless action, but movement. They understand that courage rarely arrives before the first step. Usually courage arrives because of the first step. You send the application while uncertain. You walk into the gym while insecure. You begin the conversation while nervous. You upload the work before it feels perfect. You leave the unhealthy situation before you know exactly what comes next. You start again while still embarrassed about the previous failure. You speak even though your voice shakes. You take the step, then another, and somewhere in the movement, your nervous system discovers, "I am still here." Fear promised disaster. Reality gave you experience. This is important because your mind learns through evidence. You can repeat "I am confident" 1,000 times, but doing one difficult thing gives your mind something stronger than an affirmation, proof. The first difficult action creates evidence. The second strengthens it. Eventually your identity changes. "I am scared of everything" becomes "I feel fear, but fear does not decide." That is real courage. People often imagine fearless individuals as people who experience less fear. Sometimes the opposite is true. They may feel fear intensely. They have simply learned that fear is information, not always instruction. Fear says, "Pay attention." It does not always mean stop. Of course, some fear protects you from genuine danger. Wisdom listens, but much of the fear controlling ordinary life is social fear. Fear of rejection, fear of looking foolish, fear of disappointing people, fear of being seen starting small, fear of failing publicly, fear of becoming different from your family or friends, fear of leaving what is familiar. And this fear becomes incredibly expensive. It costs careers, relationships, businesses, experiences, conversations, years, sometimes entire lives. Imagine reaching old age and realizing that many of the doors you never opened were guarded only by embarrassment. What a price to pay. Resilience means being willing to look foolish temporarily in order to become capable permanently. Every beginner looks inexperienced. Every expert once moved awkwardly. Every confident speaker once had a nervous first conversation. Every successful creator once published something imperfect. Every disciplined person remembers a time when discipline was difficult. The world only sees the polished chapter. You are comparing that to your first page. Stop. Accept the beginner stage. Accept awkwardness. Accept uncertainty. Accept the possibility that somebody may laugh. People laugh for 5 minutes. You live with your decisions for decades. Choose accordingly. And when failure happens, and sometimes it will, do not make it mean more than it means. Failure means the attempt did not produce the desired result. That is enough. Do not add, "I am worthless. I am cursed. I am finished. Everyone is better than me. I should never try again." Those are interpretations. Separate the event from the identity. The business failed. You are not failure. The relationship ended. You are not unlovable. You lost the competition. You are not permanently defeated. The presentation went badly. You are not incapable of speaking. Make corrections, then move again. Speed matters sometimes because hesitation gives imagination time to manufacture monsters. You do not need to feel ready for every meaningful step. Readiness is often created through participation. Move before fear writes your entire future. Not blindly, not foolishly, but deliberately. Take the next honest step, the one you already know you need to take. The phone call, the application, the workout, the apology, the boundary, the first page, the first lesson, the goodbye, the beginning. Whatever it is, stop asking fear for permission. Fear was never elected leader of your life. Lesson 7. Become hard to defeat. There is a difference between being hard and being hard to defeat. A hard person becomes cold. They stop trusting. They stop feeling. They build walls around everything. They call emotional numbness strength. But eventually the walls designed to keep pain outside also keep love, connection, curiosity, and joy outside. That is not resilience. That is survival becoming a prison. Being hard to defeat is different. You remain human. You care. You love. You try. You hope. You risk disappointment. You allow yourself to feel. But beneath all of that is a foundation. You know you can survive change. This is the final level of resilience. Not believing nothing painful will happen. Knowing that when painful things happen, you will meet them. Someone may leave. You will grieve. Then you will continue. You may fail. You will learn. Then you will try again. You may lose money. You will rebuild. You may lose confidence. You will train. You may become confused. You will seek clarity. You may feel alone. You will learn how to stand with yourself until good people arrive. You may lose the plan. You will create another. The unbreakable mindset does not say, nothing bad can happen to me. It says, whatever happens, I refuse to abandon myself. That distinction changes everything. Most people are not destroyed only by what happens. They are destroyed by what they begin doing to themselves afterward. They insult themselves. They isolate themselves. They stop caring for their bodies. They abandon their routines. They chase people who already chose to leave. They replay humiliating moments. They compare their lowest chapter to somebody else's highest chapter. They stop taking opportunities. They punish themselves for being human. One painful event becomes 10 years of self-destruction. Do not do that. When life hurts you, become more loyal to yourself, not less. Take care of the body carrying you through the difficulty. Protect your sleep. Move your body. Eat properly. Clean your environment. Return to meaningful work. Stay near people who bring truth rather than chaos. Give yourself moments of silence. Do not make every day about what happened. Your life is larger than the event. Your identity is larger than the person who rejected you. Your future is larger than the mistake. The world contains more doors than the one that closed. Lift your eyes. There is something else ahead, and humility is part of this strength. You do not need to walk around announcing how unbreakable you are. Real resilience is quiet. It does not need an audience. It shows itself at 5 o'clock in the morning when nobody sees you rebuilding. It shows itself when you refuse to send the angry message. It shows itself when you apologize for your part without accepting blame for what was not yours. It shows itself when you begin again after people laughed. It shows itself when you choose peace over proving a point. It shows itself when you admit, I was wrong, I need help. I have more to learn. I need to change. Ego says strength means never bending. Wisdom understands that sometimes bending saves you from breaking. Ego says never admit weakness. Wisdom knows awareness of weakness is the beginning of mastery. Ego says defeat must be hidden. Wisdom studies defeat. Ego wants to look powerful. Resilience wants to become capable. Choose capability. Build a mind that does not panic when plans change. Build a body that knows discipline. Build an identity that does not depend entirely on applause. Build relationships where respect is mutual. Build standards strong enough to protect you when emotion becomes loud. Build skills nobody can remove from you. Build patience. Build courage. Build the ability to sit alone without immediately feeling abandoned. Build the ability to hear criticism without collapsing. Build the ability to receive praise without becoming addicted to it. Build the ability to succeed without becoming arrogant. Build the ability to fail without becoming ashamed of your existence. Then something remarkable happens. Life does not become easy. You become capable. The storm may still come. But now the storm meets somebody different. It meets somebody who has been disappointed before. Somebody who has rebuilt before. Somebody who knows that emotions rise and fall. Somebody who knows that people come and go. Somebody who knows that failure can teach. Somebody who knows that uncertainty does not automatically mean danger. Somebody who understands that a closed road is not the end of movement. And suddenly what once would have destroyed you becomes something you know how to carry. That is the ultimate mindset of resilience. You do not become invulnerable. You become recoverable. You become adaptable. You become teachable. You become disciplined. You become courageous. You become difficult to control through fear. You become difficult to destroy through rejection. You become difficult to manipulate through approval. You become difficult to stop through failure, not because you never fall, because falling is no longer evidence that you cannot rise. Closing, nothing can break you. One day you will understand something about every difficult chapter you survived. The chapter did not ask whether you were ready. It arrived. The rejection arrived. The heartbreak arrived. The disappointment arrived. The loneliness arrived. The uncertainty arrived. And somehow, so did another morning. You opened your eyes. You stood up. Maybe slowly, maybe painfully, maybe without confidence. But you continued. That matters. Never disrespect the strength it took you to survive days nobody else understood. But do not stop at survival. Use what you survived. Become wiser because of it. Become calmer because of it. Become more disciplined because of it. Become more careful about where you place your energy. Become more humble. Become more courageous. Become less afraid of change. Let your difficult seasons teach you one final lesson. You do not need life to promise that nothing painful will ever happen again. You need to trust the person you are becoming. Trust yourself to respond. Trust yourself to adapt. Trust yourself to learn. Trust yourself to walk away when necessary. Trust yourself to begin again when necessary. Trust yourself to remain standing when applause disappears. And when the next storm comes, and someday, in some form, it will, do not immediately ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Look at it differently. Stand still for a moment. Breathe. Remember everything you have already survived. Then tell yourself, "I have met pain before. I have met uncertainty before. I have fallen before. And I am still here." You are not powerful because nothing can touch you. You are powerful because what touches you does not automatically own you. Pain can visit without becoming your identity. Failure can happen without becoming your future. Rejection can hurt without becoming your worth. Loss can change your life without ending your life. And fear can speak without being given the final decision. Become water when life changes shape. Stop fighting battles that steal your energy. Train your mind before difficult seasons arrive. Turn pain into material. Release the person you have outgrown. Move before fear makes the decision. And become so deeply resilient that life eventually teaches you something you once could not believe. You were never required to become impossible to hurt. You only had to become impossible to permanently defeat. That is when your entire relationship with adversity changes. You stop begging life to stop testing you. You stop fearing every ending. You stop treating every failure like a funeral. You stop handing your identity to people who may leave tomorrow. You stop asking the world for permission to believe in yourself. And somewhere inside you, a quieter kind of power appears. Not loud, not arrogant, not desperate to prove anything, just certain. Certain that you can adapt, certain that you can learn, certain that you can begin again. Certain that even when you do not know the entire road ahead, you can still take the next step. And that is when you become truly difficult to break. Because life may bend you, life may test you, life may humble you, life may change you. But as long as you continue learning, adapting, rebuilding, and moving, nothing gets to decide that you are finished except you. And you are not finished.